Western civilization has contributed more than any other to the development of human learning. People all over the world emulate our university systems, our scientific methods. They use theories originally developed in the West as the foundations for their own scientific research. And yet, Western kind has lost faith in itself and become deracinated from our own intellectual roots. We bought into the narratives critiquing our civilization coming from our professorial class. As a consequence, we have simply forgotten the actual intellectual foundations that allowed for the ascendancy of our people. We unlocked the secrets of nature. We discovered the principles of the physical world and harnessed the forces of nature, not through some violent revolution against the Western intellectual tradition. Galileo, Kepler, Copernicus, these people saw themselves as firmly in line with the Pythagorean, Platonic lineage of philosophers. They drew inspiration from the ancients. The philosophical naturalists that are popular today would like to effect a kind of reset on intellectual life. It's sufficient for us to tinker around, conduct experiments, think for ourselves using modern common sense. We can throw out metaphysics. Who cares that the Platonic Aristotelian worldview gave coherence to Western intellectual life for more than 2 millennia? Inconsequential. We can just trust the science and figure it out in our lab coats. It's ridiculous. Obviously, the intellectual tradition matters. It is why we're here. It's why we were the ones to reach the moon. We were the ones to split the atom. If we are going to set our civilization back on course, we have to take ownership of that intellectual tradition. No one else will learn it for you. And if our generation lets it slip, then it just won't be a living tradition anymore. The scientific materialists will have won out, and I think will have suffered a great loss. Intellectually, and also I think as a people, I don't see how we could survive without being tethered to the source that made us great. Not that it's all on Plato. Of course, Plato was in his own tradition of philosophers. He was a Pythagorean in his own right, and Pythagoras didn't invent his philosophy. He drew inspiration from the ancients of his days. Lately, online, I've been teaching Platonic philosophy, running reading groups, doing texts of Plato, Aristotle, the Neoplatonists. I've been using the Iamblichean Curriculum over the last couple years, and that was, of course, developed by the Neoplatonic philosopher Iamblichus. All of the schools of antiquity merged into the Neoplatonic school of late antiquity. So Stoicism, Aristotelianism, Platonism, it was all brought together. The other schools basically died out. So for the last few centuries of the ancient world, Neoplatonism was philosophy, and they developed this curriculum for initiating students into the philosophical tradition. I think we need to go back to our intellectual roots, and we should actually use the curriculum that the ancients used and then build from there. If you want to understand Christian scholastic philosophy, you better understand Neoplatonism because that's where it came from. When the Byzantine Empire absorbed the formerly pagan schools at Athens and Alexandria, they adopted their curriculum. They adopted their philosophical concepts and categories. Christian scholasticism is a continuation from pagan Neoplatonism. It also has plenty of insights, Neoplatonic philosophy, on modern-day scientific problems. There are people who identify as Neoplatonists in the modern day, like Michael Levin, making breakthroughs in biology, or John Vervaeke, coming up with a viable theory of relevance realization, and, of course, Roger Penrose. There are plenty of modern-day Platonists. It's still a workable school of thought. It's just not in line with the mainstream scientific materialism. and it is hard to get into. And then, of course, you have our own adversaries on X and so forth, who fall in line with a kind of Straussian Platonism. They value the ancient texts, but they don't read them in the traditional way. They read them through a modern lens. They, too, would just drop all of the metaphysics stuff and look at it as some kind of commentary on the human condition or something like that. No, the metaphysics matters. The theology matters. Being connected to the divine matters in concepts of the political. And we have all of the documents we need from the ancient world to get back into their mentality. The ancients understood Plato better than modern people. Modern scholars can accomplish an awful lot, and there are some great modern scholars of Platonism, like Lloyd Gerson out of the University of Toronto. It is up to us to learn this stuff. I am going to be resetting the Iamblichean Curriculum. This is the only chance if you want to get in on the reading groups from the start. This will be oriented towards total beginners in philosophy, Platonic philosophy. And so we will do 2 sessions a week. We're starting in a couple weeks, so sign up. I'll provide links in the description where you can sign up. I'm using a course software this time. I'm going to post quizzes and course materials, but you can also still sign up at patreon.com/airvol for $10 a month. That'll get you access. 2 sessions a week. Fridays, 3 p.m. Central Time, we'll do readings of the texts with commentary. And then Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central, we'll do a lecture and Q&A. So this would be the time to join if you want to discuss with others or be able to ask questions as you go. I think it is the best way to reconnect ourselves with our tradition. You can't just start with the scholastics because they assume this prior philosophical heritage. You have to start with the ancients. The beginning of it is Plato, and there was an ancient way of teaching Plato that we can simply use. We're actually going to start with a unit on Pythagoras. Pythagoras is a very interesting character. Most people don't know too much about him. He had a cult or something and taught in a cave. There are a lot more details than that we do know, that we can get into. Immensely significant in the history of ideas. It was Pythagorean mathematicizing of natural science. Really, that was the move that led to Western ascendancy, and the rest of the world has really not caught up since then. The Arab world for a little while, but that's because they had access to the Greek ancient texts, while the West was severed from the tradition. We now have a clearer view than people did even 100 years ago of our own intellectual heritage as a people. So we should take advantage of that. There are excellent modern commentaries available. We're going to go through a ton of texts, and this group is going to be going for quite a while. So I encourage you, sign up for that. Even if you probably won't consistently participate, consider just supporting. I do need the support to be able to do this. Otherwise, I may just have to go back to work. I am hosting students now. If you want to come down and stay here while doing the Iamblichean Curriculum, we'll also do bonus in-person material that won't be online. Contact me directly. You can message me on Telegram at Airvol, AARVOLL. So that's it. The curriculum is restarting. I think it will be of value to you. And also, we're going to be doing it together. It'll be a social thing, so it should be fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for considering. God bless.